Tucker Carlson accidentally becomes a communist.
Why not make the people who benefited the most from the lockdowns, the people who've encouraged them from day one, pay for the effects of those lockdowns? Why wouldn't you assess, I don't know, Amazon and Apple and Goldman Sachs and Google and Netflix and Walmart, all the big winners in this pandemic? Why wouldn't you assess them a one-time COVID fee, take it out of their record profits, and make them pay for the next bailout? Why are you paying for it? Jeff Bezos, for example, is now the richest man in the history of the world. Maybe he could share the load in a meaningful way. He's not sharing it with his employees. And while we're at it, why not make Harvard and Yale and Stanford and Princeton use their endowments to pay off some of the student debt they caused? There's no reason ordinary taxpayers should be on the hook for their spending. Ordinary taxpayers have suffered enough.
So, is Tucker Carlson a communist? No, but obviously, but that is a funny video. And I have watched Tucker Carlson off and on, not, every day or anything, or probably not even every week, but I watch him off and on because I think he is the smartest, most intelligent propagandist over at Fox News. So if you watch Sean Hannity, he will just espouse whatever the Republican talking point is at that time. So there's videos of Sean Hannity in 2016 saying things that totally contradict what he's saying in 2020 or what he said in 2004, right? Because whatever the Republican Party wants him to say is what he will go on his show and say. Whereas Tucker is smart and he has a pulse on his audience, and I believe Tucker is the most viewed cable news channel in the country. And he knows that Republicans, or working class Republicans, and, mostly he knows that working class Republicans don't like their boss, right? They realize that neoliberalism is not working. They realize that capital is concentrated in a way that it hasn't been, that it wasn't 40 years ago, and working people can't sustain themselves and sustain their families in the way that they could 40 years ago. So Tucker all the time throws out this anti-corporatist rhetoric while pushing people to vote for the Republican Party, right? While pushing them to vote for the corporate party. And I mean, that's how right-wing populism works. And Tucker is very smart. So he knows if he just throws in a little populist rhetoric, a little bit of anti-corporatist rhetoric, that'll keep his base happy and keep them coming back. While, of course, espousing socialism is ridiculous, though, and you still need to vote for Republicans, the party who are completely owned by this corporate oligarchy who Tucker criticizes, and who are, paying Tucker's paychecks with Fox News. So, yeah, interesting video, though. And I mean, that's sort of the same phenomena as Trump. And interestingly enough, Andrew Jackson, when he came to power, there was this financial oligarchy of white enslavers. So then the white working class people, because of the labor market, they had to compete with actual slave labor. Their wages were super depressed. They faced homelessness, starvation, stuff like this all the time. So they started to hate the financial oligarchy of enslavers. So Andrew Jackson came along. He said, hey, listen, I'm still racist. I still don't like anyone who's not white, but I'm going to fight for you against the bankers and against the plantation oligarchy. And that's how Andrew Jackson came to power, despite being a horrible racist and despite gaining prominence by killing a bunch of Native American people. He markets himself as working class. Yeah, and he's good at it. Sean Hannity smokes his own supply. Tucker doesn't. He just wants that dollar. Hannity does. Hannity, his brain is pure mush and corporate money. I just like to listen to Tucker cry about China. It is funny to listen to American capital.